Hi everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. My name's Mark Walker. Like many of you, I'm ancient enough to say I was there when Goldeneye released. Sat with my Nintendo 64 on Christmas Day, and with a little 14-inch TV, I literally thought this was the greatest thing ever. So of course I'm going to get out of bed at 4 in the morning to play it, and it doesn't feel too much different to it did all the way back then. But the Nintendo Switch version needs a little bit of work before it plays quite how I would like it. Obviously its use was originally intended for the N64 controller, so we'll go through a few little setups and tweaks, and we'll also look at the frame rate, the performance. Obviously we're not expecting amazing things, as well as some of the modes. Alright, well, is it as good as I remember? Or have Nintendo done another odd job and gone a little crazy? Well, let's find out. Obviously the game is accessible if you have the Nintendo Online N64 expansion. If you go on there now, you'll be able to download an update and boot the game. Before you even boot the game though, there's something you're going to want to do, and it's relating to the controls. You want to set your controls to 1.2, which is known as the solitaire setting. Then in your Switch main menu, go down to the settings, go down to controls and customize a new control set. Here you're going to want to switch the right stick to be the left and the left to be the right. I'd suggest using a Pro controller for this. Then you're going to set your RZ trigger to be your LZ trigger, so you can shoot with RZ, and then choose the LZ and make it think it is the L bumper button, exactly as you can see it here on the screen, and then save that all as a profile. Now, credit to this has to go to a Redditor, ZaOniRinku. I probably destroyed your name there, I'm sorry, but I've kind of adapted what he suggested to make it a little bit more suitable for myself. Then in the options menu, you also want to go and you want to set the look up and down option to upright, which is absolutely his suggestion, and it works brilliantly. For me as well, I'm on a widescreen TV, so I have to go down and select these options. If I choose wide, then it just stretches it and it looks quite odd. I have to have full screen, and then obviously spend a few minutes just listening to the watch music to make sure that Nintendo didn't rip out the iconic gong sound. Which, fun fact, when you speed it up is actually an entirely different instrument. So with this control setup, you'll be able to control the movement with the left stick, the camera with the right stick, aiming with the left trigger, and shooting with the right trigger. It feels much more natural if you've played any modern first-person shooter game. So then we jump over to performance. So frame rates in the original game were actually remarkably low. You might not remember, but they would be as low as 10 frames per second at the worst possible times. And I think the peak was around 17 to maybe 19 frames per second on the N64. Did I expect Nintendo to release this at 60 FPS? No, not at all. So 30 frames per second, I'm reasonably happy with. Does it maintain it all the time? No, it really doesn't, which in a strange, unreasonably nostalgic way, I kind of enjoyed. It dips at all the same places it used to dip, except now it dips down to the max frame rate that it used to hit. Oh joys. Everything else is here though. It's exactly the same game you remember, and it still plays incredibly well. The awkward sniping mechanic where you have to hold your thumb in just the right place. The panic moment where you round the corner and there's an enemy and you just spray in all directions before realizing you can actually hold the trigger down to manually aim, and the moment where you destroy the objective and realise you've got to do it all again. I do think that Nintendo really should have locked this out at 60 FPS, but as I say, I don't really care. I'm absolutely loving it. Now, as far as other options go, you do have the 4-player split screen, and this really does seem to mimic the original frame rate. While it's 4 in the morning and I don't think waking up my wife and kids is a good idea to play 4-player, I can tell straight away just from the one screen that this is maybe 16 to 17 frames per second, as it was before. With the online functionality, I believe you can invite friends and play 4-player split screen online. I'm not entirely sure how that works, or if that works at all, but I do hope that the little controller setup, courtesy of that awesome guy on Reddit, and a few tweaks from myself, can help you to enjoy this game as it was intended, or, well, at least as it should be intended now, because if you just pick it up, unless you've got an N64 controller, and if you have, GG, it's going to feel very strange indeed. You have to admit there is something a bit magical about seeing this one in handheld mode with a GameCube controller Joy-Con. What a time to be alive. Just a short little video. Hopefully it tells you what you need to know about the game, and most importantly, the gong is alive and well. If you've got any questions, pop them down in the comments. I'll be fast asleep and I'll answer them in about 10 hours time. Thanks as always for enjoying the content and the channel, and for 300k. I know I've said it many times, but it's amazing. Thanks to our Patreons and our subscribers, and for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys. See ya. I'm amazed I could actually do that at this time in the morning.